Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottanam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jamudiyayat Nastamesya Bhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevayam Bhagavatayu Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistike. We will be reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 57, new chapter, Satyajit murdered, the jewel returned. Text 1. Shibadarayanir uvacha Vijyataropi Govindo Dagdan Akarnya Pandavan Kuntim Sakulya Karani Saramo Jayo Karun Shibadarayanir uvacha Vijyatachto Pigovindo Dagdhan Akarnya Pandavan Kuntim Sakulya Karani Saharamo Jayo Kurun Shibadarayanir uvacha Vijyatachto Pigovendo Dagdhan Akarnya Pandavan Kuntim Sakulya Karani Saaramo Jayo Kurun Shibadarayanir uvacha Vijyatachto Pigovindo Dagdhan Akarnya Pandavan Kuntim Sakulya Karane Saharamo Jayo Kurun Shibadarayanir uvacha Vijyatachto Pigovindo Dagdhan Akarnya Pandavan Kuntim Sakulya Karane Saharamo Jayo Kurun. Mataji, please. Shibadarayanir uvacha Vijyatachto Pigovindo Dagdhan Akarnya Pandavan Kuntim Sakulya Karane Saharamo Jayo Kurun Shri Badarayani Uvacha Vishyartaropi Govindo Dardanakanya Pandavan Kuntim Sakulya Karane Saharamo Chayokun Shri Badarayani Uvacha Shri Sukadev Goswami, the son of Badarayana, said, Vijnata, aware, Artha, of the facts, Api, although, Govinda, Lord Krishna, Dagdhan, burnt to death, Akarnya, hearing, Pandavan, the sons of Pandu, Kuntim, their mother Kunti, Cha, and Kulya, family obligations, Karane, to carry out, Saarama, together with Lord Balaram, Chaya, went, Kurun, to the kingdom of the coast. Translation and purport by the disciples of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. Shri Badarayani said, although Lord Govinda was fully aware of what actually occurred, when he heard reports that the Pandavas and Queen Kunti had burned to death, he went with Lord Balaram to the kingdom of the coast to fulfill the family obligations expected of him. Purport. The Lord was quite aware that the Pandavas had escaped the assassination plot of Duryodhana, although the world heard the false news that the Pandavas and their mother had perished in the fire. Text 2. Bhismam kripam saviduram Gandharindronaivacha Tulya dukha sa sangamya Hakastan iti ochatu. The two lords met with Bhishma, Kripa, Vidura, Gandhari and Drona, showing sorrow equal to theirs. They cried out, alas, how painful is this? Purport. Srila Sridhar Swami points out that those who were involved in the assassination attempt were of course not at all sorry to hear of the Pandavas' death. The persons specifically mentioned here, however, Bhishma, Kripa, Vidura, Gandhari and Drona were actually unhappy to hear of the supposed tragedy. I will also read chapter summary. It's a new chapter. Satyajit murdered, the jewel returned. This chapter describes how Lord Krishna, after the murder of Satyajit, killed Satyadamva and let Akrura bring the Syamantika jewel back to Dwarka. When Lord Sri Krishna heard that the Pandavas had supposedly been burned to death in the palace of Lak, he went to Hastinapur with Lord Baladev to maintain the principles of worldly protocol, even though being omniscient. He knew the report was false. With Krishna out of Dwarka, Akrura and Kritavarma incited Satyadamva to steal the Syamantaka jewel from Satrajit. Bewildered by their words, the sinful Satyadamva murdered King Satrajit in his sleep and stole the gem. Queen Satyabhama was overcome with grief at the death of her father, and she rushed to Hastinapur to report the sorrowful news to Sri Krishna. Together with Lord Baladev, Krishna then returned to Dwarka to kill Satyadamva. Satyadamva went to Akrura and Kritavarma to beg for help, but when they refused, he left the jewel with Akrura and fled for his life. Krishna and Balaram pursued him, and Lord Krishna beheaded him with a sharpened disc. When the Lord could not find the Syamantaka jewel on Satyadamva's person, Baladev told him that Satyadamva must have left it in someone's care. Baladev further suggested that Krishna return to Dwarka to find the jewel, while he, Baladev, would take the opportunity to visit the king of Videha. Thus Lord Balaram travelled to Mithila and remained there for a few years, during which he taught King Duryodhana the art of fighting with a club. Lord Krishna returned to Dwarka and had the funeral rites performed for Satrajit. When Akrura and Kritavarma heard how Satyadamva had met his death, they fled Dwarka. Soon, many kinds of disturbances, mental, physical and so on, began to afflict Dwarka, and the citizens concluded that the cause of these troubles must be Akrura's exile. The city elders explained, once there was a drought in Benares, and the king of the region gave his daughter in marriage to Akrura's father, who was visiting Benares at that time. As a result of this gift, the drought ended. The elders, thinking Akrura had the same power as his father, declared that Akrura should be brought back. Lord Krishna knew that Akrura's exile was not the main cause of the disturbances. Still, he had Akrura brought back to Dwarka after properly honoring him with worship and greeting him with sweet words. Krishna told him, I know Satyadamva left the jewel in your care. Since Satrajit had no sons, his daughter's offspring are the just claimants to whatever property he has left behind. Nonetheless, it will be best for you to keep the troublesome jewel in your care. Just let me show it once to my relatives. Akrura presented Krishna with the jewel, which shone as brilliantly as the sun, and after the Lord had shown it to his family members, he returned it to Akrura. Om Ajnanati Manasya Jananjana Shalaka Sakshunlitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Chitchetayamanopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupakadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shiro Shiyuda Padkamalam Shigum Vaishnavam Sha Shirupam Jagajatam Saganaragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sarutam Parijana Saitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sakanalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dino Bandhu Chatpate Kopesha Kopkakanta Radhakanta Namostute Tapta Kansana Gauragi Radhe Vrindavanashri Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamama Hari Priye Vankha Kalpatubhyasha Kripa Sinabhayavasha Patinam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namah Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shivasati Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachai Desadharani Srila Prabhupada Ki. During the purport, see at the end of this pastime, Lord Krishna visits Akrura. And he says, yeah, I know you are keeping the troublesome jewel. Troublesome. So this pastimes shows all the trouble the material world causes. How much trouble has this jewel caused? That Satrajit had this beautiful jewel that gave him so much gold and so on. And Lord Krishna said, give it to Ugrasena. And yeah, Satrajit said no. So that is in the Shirsa Upanishad, you have the Isavasya principle, means there it's explained how everything belongs to the Supreme Lord and should therefore be used in His service, offered in His service. And then one lives according to this Isavasya principle, then one lives in harmony with Isha, with the Supreme Lord and the creation. So he came in disharmony because he said, no, I and mine. And that, so yes, don't be attached to money. Use it in the service of Krishna. Then it becomes not a source of trouble. It becomes a source of ecstasy. So we see here what happens when a person becomes too attached to wealth. That it's not only the wealth that one attracts, but one develops so many undesired qualities in the heart. And we see here the beginning of these pastimes, that in this pastime, that Sridhar Swami writes that, or before, Sridhar Swami points out that those who were involved in the assassination attempt were of course not at all sorry to hear about the Pandavas' death. They were inside happy, they are gone, this trouble. Because they were very much attached to the wealth of and to the position of having the entire empire for their enjoyment. So sometimes we see that also some people, they become so attached to wealth that they wish the death of a relative to get inheritance. That and when the person dies, when the relative dies, they say, that's good, we don't have to spend money for him anymore, and finally we get the inheritance. It's like that. Undesirable qualities, they develop in the heart. But then we have here, in this pastime, and that will be discussed further in this chapter, that we have Akrura and Kritavarma. Interesting, they are pure devotees of the Lord. And they are inspiring Satadanya to murder Satyajit. It's very strange. That requires an explanation. That is an interesting point. Why did they become involved in this? Because they said yes, that Satyajit, when the problem was solved and Krishna's honor was reinstated, and Satyajit felt bad, and he gave his daughter Satyabhama to Krishna. But Satyabhama was promised to many others before, and they felt sorry about it. Anyway, it was this envy and so on. Also, all a cause of, because normally Satyajit had promised Satadanga the hand of his daughter, but he gave Satyabhama to Krishna. These are all the intricacies that are going on. But it is said that why became Akrura involved? That's our acharyas say, because that is also an important point to learn here. We see externally what's going on, and we have our own perception. But our own perception through the mind is useless. But there is because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, in 3:16, the intricacies of karma are very difficult to understand. So what's going really on, what's happening, but our acharyas say that Akrura was cursed by the gopis because he brought Krishna to Mathura, and they were very unhappy. It is said also later. They were very unhappy. Later, when Uddhav was sent to Vrindavan on behalf of Krishna with a letter and so on, because Krishna had promised, I'm going back to I'm coming back to Vrindavan, but he could not go back because Jarasandha was going to attack Mathura. So he sent Uddhav, who looked like Krishna, he went with a charioteer and a beautiful cart, a beautiful chariot. And they arrived there, and he visited first Mother Yasoda and Nanda Maharaj. And it is said that this chariot looked very much the same as the chariot with which Akura came before. And so some gopis assembled around the chariot, and the chariot driver was there, and some gopis slapped the chariot driver in his face, thinking he was the chariot driver of Akrura, and that Akrura had come back. So there were some hard feelings of the gopis there, and we know the gopis are the most perfect devotees, that not good to displease them. But somehow or other he had to do this duty, Akrura. He had no choice. Kamsa told him, you get Krishna and Balaram here for the festival of the bow, and he sent Akrura, who was a pure devotee of Krishna. Anyway, he became entangled here in this murder. And then we have Kritavarma. Kritavarma, he became entangled because it is said, or Acharya said, he associated with Kamsa. So that's also dangerous. But then we have here that Krishna is going to Hastinapur, having heard that the Pandavas left their body. They were burnt in a house of flax. But of course Krishna knew the situation. But he went to Hastinapur and acted like an ordinary human being, lamenting. That's interesting. Although he knew very well that the Pandavas survived, because when the Pandavas got his house of flax, they got a secret message from Vidura. It was a secret message. You had to read between the lines, but the Pandavas understood that the house was made of very inflammable materials, and it smelled a little strange. And so they decided, after receiving the message of Indura, to make a tunnel far away. Interesting, 2 years ago I was in Vrindavan at the VIG, Vrindavan Institute for Higher Education, and Mother Prashanta showed me the whole building that they were, because they were adding some floors to the building, and showed me everything, all the new student rooms, beautiful. But she went also with me to the cellar down. And there was a secret way out of the building, which came out 200 meters further, near to the Yamuna. And she told me why this was built. Because, of course, Vrindavan today is very much populated, but it was not always like that. So in a few hundred years ago, 100 years ago, it was a lot of jungle, and sometimes it happened that a tiger appeared around the house. Then Then they had an escape route, and 200 meters under the ground, and there's a long tunnel. It's amazing that. So they made also such a tunnel, and they escaped that. The Bhima, when they came out of the tunnel, then the other Pandavas and Queen Kunti were sitting on his arms, and he was running for 50, 80 kilometers like that, to be as far away. Of course, those who were burnt were visitors, and that was I think, a woman with 5 sons or something, and then they all burned. They were received as guests, but that night the whole thing burned, and they were also burnt. So they were thinking these were the Pandavas who died in Kunti. And of course, in the Mahabharata, so many pastimes followed, and that. Yes, but we see here Bhishma, Kripa, Vidura, Gandhari, Drona. They were not happy to hear this, that the Pandavas were burnt. And we have also commentaries of our acharyas on these 2 verses. So, if you can get them here. Yeah. On the first verse, Vishwanatha Bhakti Thakur. The 5th chapter describes the killing of Satyajit, Krishna killing Satadamba, and receiving the jewel from Akura. As the jewel was the cause of death of Satyajit, the lesson taught is that the object which is ordinarily one's protector can also kill one if one offends Krishna. So that's in the Bhagavad Gita. Jachnarta karmano yatalokram karmabandhana. If you use things as a sacrifice in the service of Krishna, no bandhana, no karma bandhana, no reactions. But if you are not using things in the service of Krishna, then you get reactions and you are in illusion. That's the bodily concept of life. This is for my enjoyment. This is, unless we connect things with Krishna, the illusory energy takes over. And Maya is not going to please you. It looks very nice externally, but the result is not good. The sages have said that one who tries to enjoy in this world, the result will be suffering. And it's not worthwhile. It's temporary. So that is Krishna's illusory energy. Cheats everyone in this world. It's in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, I'm the cheater amongst the cheaters, the greatest cheater. So from the moment we are disconnected with Krishna, we are cheated by this Maya, illusory energy. And Krishna, Baladev Vidyabhushan in the Bhagavad Gita put lines between in his commentary. And Krishna says to Arjuna, Nami Bhaktya Panashati. Declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. And Baladev Vidyabhushan put verses between the other verses. And then Arjuna is replying, why are you asking me to declare this to everyone? Why are you not doing it yourself? And Krishna replies, well, Arjun, I'm from Mathura. And those from Mathura, they are known as cheaters. But then Krishna says, but they will never cheat those whom they love. So unless we act in love of Krishna through the process of Bhakti Yoga, we are cheated by the illusory energy. And that is the fact that then we don't see things we don't see things as they are. We see things through the filter of our mind, which means modes of material nature. And therefore we have so many conflicts, because we have all a different mixture of the modes of nature, and we see different things. That there is an accident, and you have 20 witnesses, and you ask these 20 witnesses to write what happens. They will all give another version. And that's a fact, that unless we see through the eyes of the acharyas, we don't know what happens. So, like why is Ketavarma and Akrura involved in that in this murder case by Satadamba? So yes, Jiva Goswami and other comments. Sridhar Swami summarizes the chapter. After clearing his defamation caused by the death of Satadamba and Akrura taking the jewel, Krishna accepted Akrura in his mind. There's a summary in one line of the entire chapter. Ascertaining the news of Hastinapur by private consultation, Krishna came with Balaram and went to Hastinapur. Of course, not just clearing his bad name. Krishna made himself famous by his actions in this pastime. Krishna understood the fact since he is the controller of the senses, Govinda. He went because of family obligations as part of his pastimes. The word Rama suggests he actually went to please his devotees. That's interesting, because in the next verse here, Bhishma is his devotee, Vidura is his devotee for sure. And so ascertaining the new of then Sanatana Goswami. Krishna understood the fact since he is the controller of the senses, Govinda. He is the antaryami of all beings, because of family obligations. So Krishna is the doer in this world. After the battle of Kurukshetra, the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra and Gandhari were killed. And Krishna went to console Gandhari. And Gandhari said to Krishna, I know you are responsible. You organized this whole thing. She knew. She had the spiritual vision. And she cursed him. She said, now your entire Yadu dynasty will vanish, because she was a great tapasvi and she had great power. And that's what happened. But that was also Krishna's arrangement, that she would curse him so that he could remove these Yadus from this planet, because they were as powerful as Krishna. Otherwise he would have caused so many trouble. So he says also Sanatana Goswami, he went for protecting the Pandavas. Then in the second verse, the purport. Thou, knowing that the Pandavas had escaped through a tunnel, hearing that the Pandavas and Kunti were burnt, he went to the coast to perform the necessary rites. Shiva Goswami. Bhishma is described with Vidura, Saviduram, since they had similar desires, or were both devotees of Krishna. They were mentioned together in the Sanskrit. Yeah. Or that they were by chance together. Bhishma is mentioned first because they met Bhishma first, since he was the most respected, the most elderly. So the others are in the order that they met them on the path. The two, as well as Vidura, who also knew the truth, imitated grief like the others. So Vidura also knew that they escaped. But they also was grieving like the others. He imitated the grief like the others. Interesting. By the acharyas we see who knew, who did not know what happened. Well, who could see and who were bewildered. Gathering with them, they all cried loudly. Krishna was crying loudly. Interesting. Krishna plays really the role of a human being. That's amazing. Sanatana Goswami. By showing conviction that the Pandavas were burnt, evil Duryodhana hoped that attempts to find news of the Pandavas living would cease. The word Sha indicates all the persons mentioned and Dhritarashtra and others. Even Krishna and Balaram lamented. Vidura is mentioned with Bhishma and Kripa because they wanted to comfort them. Or he is mentioned as a secondary figure because he was a devotee in that group. Krishna and Balaram are mentioned at the end to show that they showed equal sorrow with Bhishma and others. Gathering with them, they cried out loudly. The elders such as Bhishma mentioned first. Gandhari was superior to Drona because he came later. Kripa is considered inferior. Not sure why, but was considered inferior. So this is what I could say on this pastime. Different things to learn. First, that be careful with whatever we have under our care, that we use it in Krishna's service. Otherwise, the blessing of wealth becomes a curse. A lot of problems. It will give us only problems. And that, then another lesson to learn is with to the perception of our mind and senses, we don't see what's happening in this world. That we see only externally what's happening. But why things are happening, through the law of karma, and other various ways, we cannot perceive unless we are from the acharyas and see to the scriptures, Shastra section, that through Shastra section, seeing to the scriptures, you can see reality. That you can see how people are conditioned by seeing the symptoms of which modes and you can understand more or less what their future is. So we can, omgaan naar die anders, en the spiritual master has opened our eyes to see with spiritual vision that we see, that how the same soul is in an animal body, a human body, and so on. And we understand the source of life in the body. And just that realization that we are not a body but a spirit soul gives a spiritual vision. That if we become purified, then we see everyone equal on the spiritual platform. That, yes, that is spiritual vision. That another lesson to learn is be careful how we deal with devotees. We make offenses that heavy reactions. But still Akrura was protected by Krishna. But he felt very embarrassed by the situation, and therefore he left Dwarka. But Krishna brought him back. Krishna always takes care of his devotees. So still many questions that remain on this pastime. We can only understand a little according to the insights we get from our acharyas and our spiritual advancement. Any question, comments? Yes? John Master.
Choice were the words used, I believe. Then what comes to mind that sometimes maybe we hear, what can I do? I mean, you can't avoid being part of the horrible works of this world, as a grihastha perhaps. And then what comes to mind is Srila Prabhupada insisting on us organizing ourselves, just so we will have a choice. Do you have any thoughts here?
Yeah, so the point John Masmi Prabhu is making that, we see that Akrura, Ketavarma, they get these reactions and they had no choice to receive these reactions. But with us, that how can we avoid these reactions? Well, a devotee is responsible, and whatever reaction comes, a devotee sees the reaction as the mercy of Krishna. But it's not that that there is nothing we can do when the reactions comes. The reaction comes, yes, but then how are we going to react? That if we understand that is a reaction on our past misdeeds, is first. Dat tenu kan pamsa zamikshmama bunjal mai vaknat kitam vipakam ritvakva purubir vidadana mastechi vetiyam muktil padesadaivak. A devotee sees that, I get my reaction, and Krishna is so kind to give me only a little because I deserve more. So it's Krishna's mercy. Thank you, Krishna. I've paid for it. It's gone. That's the reaction we should have, which is beneficial for us. But if we think, this person has done that and that, I will make a plan to get them and I will retaliate. There you go again. You become again implicated in all these things. So it's a question how we deal with it internally. And Krishna is in the heart. Krishna knows what we have done. And he wants to see how he gets his reaction. How is this person going to react? What is he going to do? And that is the lesson that we have to learn. And so some devotee asked Prabhupada, will Krishna test us? And Srila Prabhupada said, yes. And the devotee said, will the test always increase, become more severe? And Prabhupada said, no. Once you have once you have passed the test, you have passed the test. So that's a test, one of the tests. We have to pass the test. Then Krishna will not give the test again. Because by devotional service we burn also our reactions. But it's up to Krishna. But that's one level of this pastime. There is also another level. Krishna organized the drama to teach us. And Akrura and Kritavarma had to play part of this drama. That was Krishna's arrangement. That's another level of the pastime. But the drama is performed so that we can learn the lessons. Does that help? Okay. Good. We are already late. Thank you very much. Shantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.